Wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Welcome to a special of what is going on at Bradford City, from the Cowley brothers to the arcade machines and snooker cubes they're wanting at the ground. What in the earth is going on at Bradford City?
Does anybody know?
Right, guys, what is going on?
No idea?
I think a circus is going on, isn't it? And I don't know who the chief protagonists are, in all honesty. You know.
So is it the chairman? Is it the CEO? Is it just the club itself?
Well, I don't know. I mean, sort of. I'd seen a tweet. I'll read the tweet out if you bear with me. Let me see. Sorry, I'll just get that tweet up. Carry on. I'll dig out the tweet in a second. Sorry.
It's all right. So, news coming out of the club, or not the club as such, from who's this from? BBC News Sports. Bradford City will not be appointing Danny Cowley as their new manager after he has changed his mind about taking over the League Two club. But people have been saying it's family reasons. That's why he's not taking over.
Yeah, what made me laugh is people said it's family reasons, but he did manage to fill town up here.
True.
So,
do you think it's like a screen cover his tracks? Do you think it may get appointed? Do you think it's just like, should we say, what am I looking for? A leak to say what the fans think?
Could be.
Oh, sorry guys, I've just dug out the tweet. So this is from Mark Davis saying, "Not sure I want someone in charge who preaches the virtue of details and process, but also accepts a job while forgetting to check where his daughter's school is. We're looking to dial down incompetence time, aren't we? On your bike, Danny boy." So that's. I mean, to be honest, I haven't read any of the news articles, but it doesn't inspire confidence all around, does it? Really, whether that's candidates or whether that's what we're offering isn't an attractive offer.
Yeah,
because there's other clubs in there out there what are basically managerless. Tell me off the top of my head, and I can't think who else. Who else? He's got no manager.
Bristol Rovers.
Bristol Rovers.
Bristol City.
Bristol City, yeah. Do you think, guys, that it could be perhaps that because there are so many vacancies at the moment, the managers themselves are kind of, it's kind of like seeing what's available. Then it's like the 10 to 2 in a nightclub. Like, you'll do.
You mean the beer goggles on?
Yeah, kind of. It's like, I've got to get something before it shuts, kind of thing. So, it's a bit of a shit show, really, isn't it? It's kind of, At what point as that post on Twitter says? I mean, surely you've got your family things in place beforehand, unless it may genuinely be like a last minute change of heart or speaking to the missus or a look at that, but that is going to be surely that's got to be something already in the mind of the manager. So whether that's just bullshit simply, or whether that's kind of an actual reason, which if it is an actual reason, then it's kind of it's not great on Danny Cowley's part. But at the same time, he was talking about, I think somebody quoted, I think it was Labib who quoted that, was talking about, again, sorry, I should have, because these thoughts are coming to my head as we're speaking, so kind of just pointing out the what's been said. But I think Labib, who has been a guest on this show, has kind of said that what it was alluding to was the structure, etc., around the club. So perhaps that is a smokescreen.
Yeah, I'm thinking the club like to leak stuff, don't they? Slightly like leak stuff. Maybe not from like the TNA, but other news providers.
Yeah.
So I wonder if the club will like actually put it out there. Say, oh, Danny Cowley, finally I said his name right, is not joining for family reasons. But like you're saying, he's managed Huddersfield, hasn't he?
Yeah, he managed Huddersfield.
Huddersfield, Lincoln and Portsmouth.
Yeah.
He's managed. Speaking to Sky Sports on Tuesday night, the 45-year-old confirmed that he had spoken to several clubs in recent weeks, but stressed the next move has got to be right for his family. So, what do you reckon? Do you reckon we're going to move on now, or do you reckon some miracle we might appoint him?
Who Cowley? I don't think that's it. I think if he's been looking around at clubs, they basically, when these guys get sacked, they obviously get the paid out, don't they? So I would say for the most part, perhaps, I'm guessing, but the money wouldn't be too much of an issue for some of them. You know, he's managed at Portsmouth, he's managed at Huddersfield, so he would have been on something better than the average person anyway. So do they see it as like, well, just weighing up their options? And, you know, so it's kind of, in that respect, are they basically themselves just, did they really have any intentions of signing, becoming Bradford City manager? I don't know.
I'm just looking on Twitter. I'm just looking on Twitter while I'm talking. And somebody has put the bottom line is no manager that wants this job enough to throw their life at it and make it a trait rather than a job.
So with the Danny Cowley,
Yeah.
now out of the running, we've got Dean Holden at 2-1, Graham Alexander at 8-1, Liam Richardson 8-1, Carl Robinson 25-1, Big Sam Allardyce 25-1, loves his chip shops, Andy Welsh 33-1. But didn't Andy Welsh join Bradford Park Ave? Am I thinking of someone else?
I'm not quite sure.
Never heard of half of these people, to be fair. So,
and then we've got Carl Boney, and then somebody I've definitely never heard of. Who in the earth is Brian Barry Murphy? He's 33-1.
Who?
Brian Barry Murphy.
Let me go on me Google.
Barry Murphy. What does Wikipedia say? You know,
He's an Irish professional football manager.
Is he Irish national manager?
Yeah, he's an Irish professional football manager and former player who played as a defensive midfielder in the Football League. He is currently the manager of Manchester City EDS.
Oh, okay.
Imagine that's a development squad then.
Yeah.
So it would have been probably somewhere either in and around the 21s, under 23s, or whatever they have these days. So, I mean, does that kind of stink of Michael Collins' sort of levels of desperation, do you think? Or, you know, none of us really know these coaches in terms of these up-and-coming ones, and it could be brilliant. But then it could be just like another Michael Collins situation. And yeah, so, you know, I think from the noises coming from within the club, or at least what you read between the lines, is that they basically, the managers are kind of seeing that there's no budget, that, you know, that in terms of what they want to bring in January to start with. It goes back down to what I said before, that we've got Sparks who's flip-flopping, who's sacking managers. He obviously, I mean, you know, I was against Hughes' sacking, but he's basically sacked a manager just because a few fans have been booing. Now we're left in this situation which leaves us even worse off, because we're rudderless for. I mean, we're lucky enough that it's like a third into the season and not like the last, I don't know, 15 games or so, where you've got less time to kind of for somebody to come in and put the stamp on the team. But it doesn't inspire confidence, and it can't inspire confidence of anyone that's not that desperate to come to managers.
Yeah.
When did Ryan Sparks get appointed? Was it 2018?
I don't know. I'd seen a tweet earlier between Adam of City Vent and Labib, and it's sort of you remember the incident with the guy who did the music, the DJ.
Yep.
And he played Road to Nowhere. Then he kind of published that he'd been basically called into the office or something like that with regards to the choice of song. And somebody said that the person in the media was Sparks, but I've heard back since I read back that he didn't come in till later.
I find it on social media.
So I mean, it's a difficult one to judge because I don't think they had a plan in place when it comes to when they sacked Hughes, and that's been evident because they were almost, as been said, kind of hoping that Big Kev would take the job. He would do a job and take the job at least till the end of the season. So, and that's criminal because you got to, as a club, you've got to have a blueprint. You've got to have a vision, whatever that is. Whether you want to kick your way out of the league, whether you want to play your way out of the league, but you've got to have something. And this is completely reactionary all the time. And as I said the other week, Spark should grow a spine. Or
you
should grown a pair, had a spine and kind of ridden the... he could have ridden the turmoil with Hughes, because all you have to do, if you've got some gravitas about you basically... I mean, this is very simplistic, but you basically say, right, you sit down, Hughes, you have a meeting with the players, say, right, okay, we are playing for the same team, so let's actually work like we're playing for the same team. But
so Ryan Sparks, he joined in 2020.
Right, okay.
So looking on the club's official website, I don't know if this is including or excluding Gary Bowyer, because he were here 2019 to 2020. So it's gone from Gary Bowyer, Stuart McCall, Mark Truman, caretaker, Mark Truman, Connor Sellers, joint interim, Mark Truman and Connor Sellers joint, Derek Adams, Mark Truman, Mark Hughes, Kevin MacDonald, player caretaker, and then Mark Truman again, caretaker.
Yeah.
So, as I said, that's basically very reactionary.
10 managers.
And yeah, it's kind of like we've had a reputation, haven't we? Especially since basically 2018 of having so many managers, and you've just read them all out there. We had stability for all Lorne and Rhodes' faults. They stuck with Parky. There were probably times, I think there were times when they were tempted to pull the trigger, but they stuck by. Remember in Parky's first season, we went, was it 19 or 21 games without a win? We drew a few, but we lost a few. And there were calls for Parky's head, but Lorne had the backbone to basically stick with him. And knowing what had gone on before, when we had the likes of Taylor, we had Peter Jackson in, we'd had Stewart in prior to that. So it's clear, isn't it, that stability in this context is more of a positive than a net negative.
Yeah. So has anyone else got any thoughts on this, on the situation at Bradford City, or any other bits and bobs? Feel free to put request in. What's your thoughts on the Roop, the owner?
That's a bit... I don't know. All I just see what everybody's saying about him. Because he's hardly at any of the matches, is he?
No, does he do race? Is he a race car driver or something?
Well, I
don't
think
know,
he's
is it?
basically living out his dream in the Nürburgring, isn't he? To be honest, I don't have an issue with an owner not being here if there is direct communication, and the communication coming from the leader on the ground is the correct communication and not sugarcoating anything, and is a good two-way conversation. I don't have a problem with that. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's clear he wants out, but in fairness to him, he wants his money back, and why wouldn't he? He has invested in the club, and so in that respect, it's easy for people. I've seen people say, "Oh, well, he should take the loss." It's like, well, can you take a loss of millions of pounds? He's kind of, again, he's going back to this idea that football is the computer game championship manager, and it's like, it's not. This is real life. These are people's livelihoods. These are people's personal wealth, personal, family, actual family. I mean, it may be true with what Danny Cowley said, with regard, or it might be a genuine reason, should I say? I'm not saying that's not true. So it's kind of like, we're obviously an unattractive proposition for somebody to come in and take over the club. I suspect that's largely down to not owning the ground and not having training facilities that we call our own, and obviously the extra investment that people will make and or have to make. And the fact is, we are a League Two club. I think if we were somewhere near the top end of League One Championship, then I could see somebody coming in, putting some money in and having a quicker route to success or making money. But it's very difficult to make instant returns, isn't it, buying a League Two club that basically doesn't own its ground. Yes, it's got an average of 18,000 fans, but then those fans turn on a manager when first sight of any kind of poor form, and you have a CEO who's basically making decisions based on a few boos in the ground and a few comments on Twitter. So kind of taking it back to Rupp, I'm sure he does want to kind of get out, but somebody's got, again, with the ground, you can only buy the ground if the pension fund are willing to sell it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, in that respect, it's not a simple case of this needs to happen or that needs to happen. Yes, in theory it does, but the reality is there are so many factors that are out of people's control. So obviously, going back to your sort of question earlier, Johnny, who next? I've no idea at this point. I would have taken.
Well,
go ahead, sorry.
Neil Atkins has just signed a new contract. Has signed for Tranmere, so he's there till 2024 now. I've just read it on Twitter.
Right, so Tranmere have just got somebody in then, basically.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just looking.
No, good. That's good, but it kind of shows, doesn't it, that they've basically, they're getting their house in order.
Yeah.
And we haven't got our house in order, so.
So Gillingham announced the manager who we apparently, allegedly, were after as well.
Stephen Clemens.
Yes. It's like looking on Twitter now, Chris, if we appoint Graham Alexander next week, I'm totally done with this club. So the fans have turned completely now, in my opinion.
I think some of them have.
Well, I think that's kind of. I can understand the frustration. I'm kind of that people have, and really that's got to be down to the way the management club, or the way it's being run from the top, because it boils down to, again, having no vision, having no spine. I mean, don't forget who was the director of football type that we got rid of when Adams came in for us only to go and get Stephen Gent in again.
He was from Scunthorpe, wasn't it?
Was he that former goalkeeper? No.
Was he a scout?
He was a former player, wasn't he? And he was kind of...
Lee Turnbull?
Yeah, Lee Turnbull, I think. Yeah. So that's another one that adds to Sparks' list of shame, really, in terms of abject decision-making. So, guys, I'm waffling on, so what has anyone else got to say?
Miss Callie, I bet you've got something to say on this.
What? Sorry, I've only just come in. What are we saying? Are we on about the manager situation?
Everything going on at Bradford City. Like, whose fault is it? Is it Sparks' fault? Is it the owner's fault? Just basically, what's going on at Bradford City? What do you think is going wrong at Bradford City?
I think Sparks needs to give up. If I'm honest, that's my honest opinion. What has he done? What has he done for the club lately? I don't think he's done much at all.
So what do you think will change? Do you think Sparks will resign, or do you think he'll stick it out?
Do you know what? I don't honestly know how how a CEO works. How somebody else might have a bit more info. Do they get paid off? Do they just leave? Do they get sacked? Do you know what I mean? Who is it down to Rupp to sack him? I don't know how that pans out.
Well, I mean, basically, what is not going to happen is that he's just going to walk away from his job without anything. Usually, my guess. I mean, I'm not at any kind of level like that, but as in most cases, people are not going to resign because there will be in the contract. I imagine that if they resign, they lose out on.
That's what I mean. Will they have to pay him off?
Well, yeah.
I think they will.
It's some kind of a golden handshake because that tends to make things work. I mean, that's the same as I was saying earlier with managers. They usually probably, having been sacked from a few clubs, probably accrue enough money to not need a job. But obviously, at some point, that kind of diminishes. Also, people want to work because that's what they get up in the morning for, to actually manage football clubs.
Sorry, Stan. So I just googled the CEO of football. A CEO is a spokesperson for non-playing activities. Examples including I can't even pronounce that word. Commenting on finances, fans' engagement, discipline action against fans, the odd one or poor behaviour, EFL matters, and generally off the pitch, and basically media.
Yeah, I mean, the CEO of a company basically run the company. They make the decisions of the company. I mean, they don't make them unilaterally because obviously there are kind of things to be ratified or agreed in things like this. But like in any company, if something were to say, for example, a company loses a ton of money, then the CEO would go. But usually, because they're the one at the top, they're responsible. But they always get a golden handshake. So, it's not a simple case of Sparks walking away. But why would he? In his mind, he sees he's probably doing a good job, and maybe on some levels he is. Speaking to a member of staff a few months ago in the summer, they seemed to like him. They had good words to say about him, but it's a different matter being liked and being kind of good with the staff and actually being good at your job that you kind of pay to do. So again, we could be basically going off on Ryan Sparks, and there may be other things going on in the background, but as it stands, the way I see it, and I'm prepared to be stood corrected, that he's the man at the top running the club day to day, so the buck stops with him.
Tweets coming out, our club is doomed. We may as well get the fans to put their names into a hat and pull every Sunday so they have a go at being manager for a week. What a farce. The hashtag
I don't get that. Why is it doomed? Just because Cowley's not come to us?
There's plenty of other managers out there that
Exactly.
I think with people, though, I think they've just had enough of the club being in League Two.
Oh, I don't feel like that. I don't feel like Sparks is doing as much as he should do, but I don't think our club's in dire straits, right?
We are.
Does anybody else?
No?
Does anyone else got any thoughts?
I agree with Dan and Callie there. It's like it's a tad melodramatic to kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many things that could improve, but sort of. We kind of need to maybe just step back a little bit as fans and kind of say, it's like it's not the worst thing to happen. It's not great, but it's not. We're doomed at all. We run quite well in the commercial department. David Longo has done a brilliant job since he come in. So to kind of say that we're doomed is basically that's kind of like the Twitter meltdown sort of territory, but it's not a great situation at the moment. So,
but I'd rather wait. Sorry, Johnny, go on.
So another club, should we say, is in better finances than other clubs. So he's done something right there, the finance and stuff. But like my frustrations now, I've been following City for a while. I've seen managers come and go. Stuart McCall 3 times, but it's just frustrating how we play. And like soon as we lose 3 games or something on bounce, 4 games on bounce, the atmosphere changes. Everyone calls the manager to be sacked. The manager goes. It's like going in Groundhog Day. Like I've always said, in past Groundhog Day.
That's
repeating itself.
That's the ups and downs of following Bradford City. That's exactly how it is and how it always will be.
Yeah, the roller coaster ride.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather sit back and wait for the right manager. I'm fed up of spending, like, the amount of Hughes got when he left would have been ridiculous. That kind of thing. That's what gets me kind of mad about Sparks, that they're just willy-nilly throwing money. Yeah, they've got shut of him and they've maybe done the right thing, but the clauses that they have in sometimes don't benefit us, do they?
Well, if you think of, we would have had a budget for this season and there would have been a certain amount of leeway for transfers in January, but obviously you're then paying off Mark Hughes and you're paying Glyn Hodges, so I would imagine that budget would have been drastically reduced. We've got Liam from the lower league look on.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello. Welcome to the fun house.
Yeah, it's definitely that. Just on that there, the thing about the clauses and stuff, they're not something that we put in. They are, like, managers and players are protected. So, like, it doesn't matter what the club do. They get paid for the entire contract, regardless. Like, it's nothing to do with the club. The club can't do any more. They can't take them out because they are protected. That's part of what, like, the PFA and things like that do. They are fully protected, so they'll always get paid. It's not to do with the clubs, and it's the same at every level. It's just the way it is.
So with that in mind, Liam, obviously, I think then you kind of do you think then there's a calculated or a calculation or a calculated risk if for example, they sack somebody at a certain point in the season? Obviously, there's going to be more, relatively more. I suppose it's the same amount in the end, but do you think that would factor in their thinking with regards to, we've still got to pay the contract out, and then we've got obviously to find money somewhere for a player budget in a transfer window in January and so on.
I think, to be fair, Johnny said it earlier. It's like Groundhog Day. When we're never happy as fans, we wanted a proven manager at this level. We literally took Morecambe's manager before the playoff final. Like, he'd agreed to come to us before they'd even played in the playoff final, and he went and got promoted and then left them a day later and came to us. Fans 6 months later didn't like him, wanted him out, so they got rid of him. They then went and got an ex-Premier League manager who's never managed anywhere below the Premier League. Fans were delighted. Fans were okay last season. It's turned at the beginning of this season. They wanted him out, so they've got rid of him. And it's like, if we're blaming Sparks and the club and Rupp for making these decisions and bringing these managers in, then we've kind of got to take some blame ourselves because we supported them. We supported all those moves. They have the exact same views as what's going to happen as we do, which is you can't predict the future. Hindsight's brilliant. But the fact is, if we all supported it, then it's on us as much as it is them, really, isn't it? Like, none of us called it out. None of us said, oh, don't get Mark Hughes in. No one said, don't get Derek Adams in. We all wanted them.
No, I mean, I agree with that because I've been saying that really they've been sacked on the whim of the fans. They've kind of almost responded to the fans. And that's my beef from the outside in terms of not knowing obviously what's going on inside the club. But Sparks should have basically shown a little more kind of resilience and kind of seen it out, because I think I agree. I think it can turn very toxic quite quickly at this club with regards to when things aren't going right. And, you know, there's got to be an element of, look, you know, we're on this process. We've got to kind of believe in the process. Otherwise, we are going to go on this merry-go-round. It is going to be Groundhog Day, and we're back in the same boat, albeit the boat's kind of gone a little backwards because we can't even get a manager in.
Do you know what? When you're talking about like it turning toxic, we saw it last season. I can't remember who it was we were playing at home. In fact, it was the Rochdale game. We ended up losing it. But when we went, no, I don't know if it was Rochdale. It was a game we went 1-0 up in, but we passed it along the back four and everyone was booing. And in that same move, we got it up the field and scored. So within 30 seconds, the fans went from booing to chanting Mark Hughes Bradford Army. In literally a 30-second window. It's silly. Like, do you know what? We've got to... I think as fans, we've got to accept that, and especially with this manager search right now, maybe we're not the pull we think we are. Well, clearly not, are we? Because Danny Cowley's quite clearly turned us down. We're 4 or 5 weeks into it. It's 4 weeks on Wednesday since Hughes left. So maybe managers are interested in the job, but maybe it's not a case of us just having a pick of any manager that's out there, like we seem to think. Oh, we've got 17,000 fans. That's the only thing that really differentiates us from the other teams in the league. And when you look at those 17,000 fans and see them all on social media calling, you know, the owner every name under the sun, the CEO every name under the sun, why would you want to come to that? If that's the only appealing factor that sets you aside from the rest of the clubs in the league, and then you look online and see just how toxic it actually is, it's not really appealing.
So we've had a message from Alex Roop out on social media. Mm-hmm. Sparks is terrific at season ticket sales, lower due to it being the greatest revenue generated due to Roop £0 investment in 3 years. Throughout is jumpy with managers.
Can I just make a point on that zero investment thing?
Go for it, bud.
Because I think people really misunderstand. This is why the club don't say anything, because it gets taken completely out of context. So when Sparks is saying there's been zero investment from Stefan Rupp in his entire time at the club, that's not a negative. That's not a negative. What you have is financial fair play caps. You have a certain amount of money you can spend. We're generating that money without needing external investment. That's what that says. We don't need anybody to top us up to get to that. We physically can't put any more into that playing budget if we're at that financial fair play cap. So he's not saying Stefan Rupp doesn't invest in this club. He's saying he doesn't need to, because there's nothing more that we can do. We've got those budgets. We've got a top 5 budget, top 6 budget nearly every single season. That's not on Stefan Rupp. Like people saying, he could invest more. He can't. He could give more money to the club, but we can't put it into that playing budget because we've already got that cap. We're at that limit of financial fair play. Then we end up in trouble. And we've been down this route before where we've had an owner come in and pump a load of money in. And then what? We end up in administration twice and we nearly lost this club both times. Like, what would you rather have? I'd much rather, I know it's not great being in League Two, but I'd rather have a much securer setup than take that huge risk. A lot of the people that are online that are calling for that and want investment, they didn't witness it. They didn't see people having to raise money in the streets and, walking around at games with buckets just to try and keep the lights on. They didn't see none of that. And you can see it when there was one that's, I'm not going to name it, but it was the really, really vocal, and like people go on and listen to a lot of what they say. And then they tweeted out the other week, there was a question of what's the lowest point you've ever had watching your football club? And it was a Colchester game from 2 seasons ago that they commented. I'm like, if you genuinely believe that any point in the last 10 years has been a low point at this club compared to what happened sort of 2002 to, well, when was it Parky came in? 2011? Like, those were the dark times. Peter Taylor was a dark time. Colin Todd was a dark time. This isn't a dark time. It'll get better. Unfortunately, we're just a really impatient fan base. But yeah, that was just about the zero investment. People are taking it out of context and saying he doesn't invest in the club. He doesn't need to invest in, because we are at that limit already without needing further money coming in. That's all it meant.
So do you think, like, do you know, like Man United are currently on a slump, and like Liverpool in the past have been on a slump? Do you think the team is in a slump and will get out of that slump?
I don't know. I don't know if the team's... I mean, we saw last season that the team can play. We've seen since Hughes has gone that the team can play. We just need somebody who comes in who can manage that way. And I think that's all we're looking for. And everybody keeps talking about how we need... This next appointment is key. And I agree, it is key. Like, we have got to get this next appointment right. So why is everybody wanting to rush? Why is everybody kicking off about rushing? Gillingham, they appointed their manager yesterday. They sacked their manager, I think, a week or a week and a half before we did. And none of their fans were kicking off about how long it was taking, because they were taking the time. You want them to do... like I said last week, the club can't win. If they rush and appoint someone, it doesn't work, it's their fault. If they take their time, you guys, well, I say you guys, not you guys, but the fans as a group, they're kicking off. They can't win. Everyone demanded an update, so they gave an update. And then everyone wasn't happy about what was in that update. It's like, what did you want them to do? They gave you an update, which is exactly what it was.
So do you think they bowed to pressure then, Chu, with like announcements and stuff? Do you think this, like, obviously, they probably look at the hashtag, don't they, on social media sites. Do you think they've gone, oh, we better put a notification out because fans are begging for it? Or do you think it will entail to come out?
No, I think they thought they'd have, Danny Cowley had agreed by what they're saying, and I think they felt that they wouldn't need to do that update because we were going to announce a manager, and then he's changed his mind and they've said it's for family reasons. He said, like, on Tuesday on TV that he's got to do what's right for his family. That's not to do with the club. That's not Sparks' fault. That's not Stefan Rupp's fault. It's no one's at fault. It's just, it is what it is. So I don't feel that they gave an update because they were gonna announce a manager.
How much are you betting it's the wife that's put her foot down?
Would you want to move to Bradford?
No. Why do you think I moved out of there?
Well, that's the thing. But there's all these things to take into account. Yeah. Like there really is, and it's not a. And look, for anyone who doesn't think that player, like someone said the other day, oh, managers won't come to us because managers talk to each other and they'll know what's going on at this club. Managers and players check social media. Their agents check social media.
Of course
they see what's going on. I have literally had conversations with ex-Bradford players from the 2013 Cup run team who have said they didn't enjoy playing at home as much as away because the pressure at home, if you put a foot wrong, that's it. So first person makes a mistake, it can turn. And like, we should be using our numbers as to an advantage, and we don't. We are our own worst enemy when something starts to go slightly wrong.
I think I have a few points to come back at, not in disagreement, but
that's fine.
But genuinely not in disagreement anyway. With regards to what you were saying, because I think when Sparks was mentioning that about the investment, I knew what he meant, but obviously that was taken in the context of obviously we are a self-sustaining club, and you've highlighted some of the reasons for that. But also, it's not a good business model if somebody's having to dip their hands into the personal wealth to keep a business going. And I think the thing that I saw, especially this season, and it's kind of like once the snowball keeps getting bigger in terms of the mood. With some people, but in terms of people were calling Hughes a dinosaur, but we're calling for 4-4-2. I mean, the modern game isn't played in that way anymore. And most managers will come in, and like you said, I can't remember the game, but I do know what you're talking about, where we basically, don't allow players to basically pass it sideways or pass it backwards, because what they are doing in that situation, they're moving the if you like, the pitch about and creating that sort of space that eventually does kind of come, and that is the way of the modern game. So I don't get where this kind of people were saying to me, "Oh, I don't like Hughes building out from the back football." It's like, well, welcome to 2023. We're not in like 1993 or whatever. It's not like 4-4-2 against 4-4-2 or wherever. And I think yeah, it's kind of. Go ahead, Liam. Yeah.
You mentioned there about the dinosaur comment. The other part of that made me laugh when they were saying, get this dinosaur out, and then literally a couple of days later, it was go get Neil Warnock. And it's like, okay, so get rid of this 57, 58-year-old dinosaur, whatever Mark Hughes is, but bring in this 74-year-old man. Like, make your mind up.
Have you got any thoughts on this, the Paredes, if I'm pronouncing that correctly? If you can chat if you like.
It's the Paredes.
Paredes.
No, I'm joking. It's not. I'm just.
I can't pronounce names. I'm like the Paul Merson of this chat. I'm the Paul Merson. I can't pronounce names. Right. Sorry, Paredes, is it? If I'm pronouncing it correctly. Have you got anything you want to say?
Everything I want to say, it sounds like it's just been said. I've only been on for about 5 minutes, but it seems like Stan and Liam have sort of summed it up.
You got anything else you want to add to it, bud?
No, not really. Sorry.
Okay, fair dues. Is anyone else got anything they want to say? Put a request in. I know there's quite a lot in tonight. Thank you. It's all much appreciated you joining today. So if anyone else got anything want to say, put a request in and we will get you on the show.
Who does everybody want?
Artell.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'd take Dave Artell.
And I take everybody.
And if you want to, I'm going to do a bit of ad promotion here for you, Mr. Chew. I know on the lower league look, he's got the interview with Artell on one of his social medias. I think it's YouTube, if you want to correct me.
Yeah, it is. It's on the YouTube channel. We interviewed him about 9 months ago. I think the thing that people look at Artell in his last season at Crewe, and like, they got relegated. They did get relegated from League One, but he had the 24th lowest budget in the league. You look at the seasons prior, he had Crewe finishing 11th in League One with the 24th smallest budget in the league. That season they came down, he had his best players sold from underneath him. He tried to leave at the end of the season where they finished 11th because he knew what the plan was. He knew that they were selling the players, and he was asked to stay on, and he agreed to stay on, and it ended up being a shit season. But what he's done since he lost that Crewe job, sort of not this summer, just gone summer before, he's done courses on management and football science, and like he's been working with Arsenal with Mikel Arteta over the summer. Like, that's how well respected he is in the game. Like, Mikel Arteta at Arsenal has had Dave Artell in to help over the summer to deal with the sports science side of things. He's got a lot of experience. I really think he'll be if we give whoever it is time, and it ends up being him, he'll do well for us. And if we're going to take a risk, because we've done the old proven man, we've done the old, legendary managers in like Mark Hughes, the big name. We've done the proven manager, Derek Adams. We've done the hometown hero, Stuart McCall. It's never worked. So if you want to take a risk and go for a new up and coming manager, I've been talking about Nathan Rooney for the last few weeks. Anybody who doesn't know who Nathan Rooney is, go and give him a Google, have a look at his record. Any manager that has a career 2.7 points per game average has got to be worth a look at. And Grimsby are talking to him. There's a few clubs that are interested. So, yeah, that's a risk that's worth taking.
Have you got any thoughts on it, Labib?
Yeah, hi. You're right.
Yeah, yourself, mate? How are you today?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. Just jumping on. Just to pick up on what Liam was saying, I've literally just been watching that YouTube interview with David Artell, and I remember I was on the lower league podcast on the night that Hughes was sacked. And even at that time, I think you guys were talking about David Artell. At that time, I didn't know anything about him. And so I've Googled him. But having watched that YouTube video, he does come across as being quite impressive, I've got to say. The things that stood out are the things that have already been mentioned. His final league position far exceeded what budget he'd set for that year. But also he spoke about playing football the right way. And I think just those kind of couple of things will appeal to a lot of City fans. I think we've been crying out for, good, attractive football. In terms of people kind of talking about Hughes as being a bit of a dinosaur, I do agree with what Stan was saying in terms of that is modern day football. Nobody does play 4-4-2 anymore. It's all 4-2-3-1 and variations thereof. But having said that, for all the possession that we used to have, we used to create very, very little. And I've kind of said it before, in a lot of the games that I watched last season, they were quite tedious games to watch. They weren't particularly exciting. You weren't out of your seat. It wasn't kind of end-to-end stuff. I appreciate it was possession-based, but there was very little end product at the end of it. So, okay, it might not have been a dinosaur, it might have been a bit more modern, but at the same time, I think there was very little to show for it. And as many people have said, I think we got lucky on a lot of occasions with Andy Cook having such a standout season, and obviously Harry Lewis being brilliant between the sticks. So, out of all the names that have been mentioned, again, I'm certainly no way professed to be an expert on these out-of-work managers. I don't think we're going to get somebody who's already in a job. I don't think we'll be looking to pay out that compensation. So I think we'll be looking at people who are out of work at the moment. And just based upon that kind of interview that I've just referred back to, I think Artell would be a really good shout. That'd be my view. Would have wanted Cowley. Obviously, the news that broke earlier on today that, as we've already discussed, he's been offered the job and walked away from it. Was disappointing. I did have him as my number one pick, but failing that, I'd really back the club if we went all out and got Artell.
So I think going off of what you were saying, Labib, I think, and I've maintained this, is that whoever comes in has to be able to take the squad and run with it, because we do have a squad good enough to be there or thereabouts. There's always the January transfer window, etc. But it's kind of, we don't want to be changing the direction too much, and I think Dave Artell and the Cowleys probably would have kind of got that. So I completely agree with pretty much what's being said. I don't think anyone's saying anything too controversial with regards to that. So with that, So who do you guys think? Go ahead, Liam. Sorry.
I just have a question for what is it? There's 6 people here apart from me, and obviously people that are listening. Going back to that end of last season, that playoff game, that moment where he took Scott Banks off and put Matty Platt on, do you think that if he hadn't done that, even if we'd lost the game, do you think if he hadn't done that, he'd still be here? Because I think that moment never, ever left people's minds. And I think people never forgave him from that point, and they were looking for a reason this season.
I think the words people haven't forgiven him were just about to leave my mouth. As you were saying that, it's like I said this all season, that it's kind of like it's almost like people feel like they're being betrayed by the lover, and it's like they can't forgive them, and I don't think were you there at Crawley, Liam? But
yes, I was.
Yes, I mean, aside from the game aside, you've seen grown men basically picking fights with each other in front of the kids.
Yeah,
and it's like, come on, you've got to be better than that. And I feel that frustration has carried over into this season. I mean, I've said this so many times this season. I've said it on your 606. And
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
yeah, it's interesting how people's view of one thing or one thing can kind of really kind of almost have an exaggerated view of a certain thing.
We didn't clean slate this season. That's the problem. We went into this season with that was unfortunately that was the last memory of last season. If we'd have just missed out on the play, or if we'd, like I say, if he'd not made that substitution, but we'd lost anyway, and we'd lost fair and square, let's say on penalties, we'd have felt better going into this season. But people going into this season had such a chip on their shoulder over that. And look, I'll be honest, I don't think that there's people out there that have influence in the fan base that have not done any favours. You know, how people can call out Andy Cook after the season that he had last year and say, oh, you know, he's sat on a 3-year deal. He's not sat on a 3-year deal at all. Like, he really isn't. And why would anybody think that 2-3 months into that deal, getting on his back is going to make any difference in terms of getting it better? It's just going to make things worse. And yeah, we're turning on everyone. Well, I say we. Certain people are turning on everyone. Anyone that they can find a scapegoat at.
Johnny, just before you come back, there's one thing, because obviously in answer to that, you know, I don't believe we got lucky with Cook and Harry Lewis, because if you look at the way Cook was managed by Hughes, and you would have to say that a striker of his calibre would have had an influence on the way Cook developed last season.
Absolutely, Matt. Andy Cook last season was, I mean, don't get me wrong, they didn't start off the season well. Cook was, I think, 4th choice when the season started. I fully believe that we owe Mark Hughes for the Andy Cook we got last season. Absolutely.
I personally, I think there's a lot of truth in that. If you actually watch Cook in isolation, playing up front, the amount of space he created for himself, and he does create for himself, was brilliant. You know, textbook striker. There's a couple of goals that I can remember specifically. He'd run in front of the defender, and then all of a sudden he'd turn, swivel, end up behind the defender, end up in loads of space, one-on-one, and he slots home. The amount of space, his movement off the ball, especially in the box, it was just absolutely phenomenal. And I would have thought that a lot of that was down to Mark Hughes. In terms of getting lucky, I still do think that, you know, if it hadn't been for somebody like Andy Cook and the combination of him and Lewis combined, we would not have had the kind of successful season that we had. And that's
You've got to remember, though, we had a lot better. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of referring to, and kind of we got a little bit lucky. As I said it before, a lot of the games I used to watch, and I used to find it really hard to think that we were within a shout of automatic promotion. That the standard of football that we're playing, whilst, yeah, it was possession-based and we had 65% possession, what we actually did with the ball was horrific, apart from the few instances where Cook worked his magic. So I think, yeah, the development of Andy Cook does probably owe a lot to Mark Hughes in terms of striking coaching. But that's the only kind of point that I could realise where coaching has made any difference to any of our squad players last season. I don't think any others kind of improved. I think Hughes had that philosophy where he wanted kind of ready-made players to come in. I think I've made the point before that he didn't really seem to want to develop the younger players that we'd brought into the club, offered 2-3 year deals, and before you knew it, they were out the door again. So, generally speaking, I was disappointed in the way he managed the squad, with that perhaps one exception.
Johnny, you've had your hand up for a while. You're going to come back to a point or answer something, or
Yeah, it's just so this is from Chris Bell
Can't
Media.
hear you, Johnny. So you'll have to. Everyone else is going to have to.
I can
you hear me?
hear him.
I
Cool.
can.
So going back to Chris Bell Media has just sent me a tweet. I wouldn't be surprised if Danny and Nicky are Lincoln bound. They still live in the city, and I don't think commuting to Bradford would have been a problem for them. I think the Lincoln job would be safer for them due to experience and working with the chairman bod they know.
Yeah, they are going to Lincoln. I think that's pretty much common knowledge now for it. The irony is, if that Lincoln job hadn't come up, they would be Bradford managers. Because the personal reasons there, if you think about it, like they don't live in the area. As far as I'm aware, they've got a house in the area that they rent out. But they're from, like, that's what they've done. That's where they had their most success as managers, and they're loved there. So yeah, family and things. Why would they not want to go back to somewhere where they had really good times, as opposed to going somewhere that's completely unknown, that has a tendency to turn over a manager every 6 months? You know, it's a big upheaval.
And going back to your Nathan Rooney, Chew.
Yes.
I've put his name in Google. He's managed Blackburn under 21s, Fleetwood under 21s, Crawley, Carlisle, Cone, Port Vale, and the best name I've ever seen in my entire life, Bruno Magpie.
Yes, in Gibraltar.
Yeah. And, oh my lord, Espinho.
Yeah, no, he didn't actually manage them. Weirdly, that was this summer, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2023 to July the 1st, 2023 to August the 28th.
Yeah,
2023.
he didn't actually.
That is the best name I've
didn't
ever.
actually manage them. They announced it, and no one knew about it. Like, even he didn't know that there was an announcement. So yeah, strange one, really. But I mean, have a look at his stats for Bruno's Magpies. You can only, and look, I've spoken to people who've been and watched them play, and they've said the style of football that he plays is exciting. He works with young players. Just for anyone who, I'll tell you now, and I know this might be a bit of a for some people, but his assistant was Marcelo Bielsa's assistant at Leeds. So he's got that experience, number two. And then he's got alongside him, I just want to make sure I get this right, because I always get the bloody things. So alongside him, he's then got Ryan Taylor, ex-Newcastle. So that's his three. There's him. There's it's Andres I can't pronounce it, Clavijo or something. He was Bielsa's number two. And then Ryan Taylor. So he's got that experience, because he's only 34, I think he is. But like I say, when you look at that, points per game, he concedes on average 1 goal every 4 games. He's defense. He knows how to work defensively. Obviously, then he's got Ryan Taylor to help on that, and then he's got an assistant that's getting them playing really nice, fast, pass and move, flowing football. Someone's going to take a risk on him in League Two or in League One, even.
Do you think it'd be Bradford City?
No, I think it should. I think if we're going to look at trying the one thing we've not, which is a young up-and-coming unknown manager, then yes, we should. But I don't think we're going to do that. I don't think the fans would allow us to do that. If we announced him, our fans would be up in arms. They wouldn't give him the time of day. And if they announced him today and we lost on Saturday, they'd be asking for him out by Monday. It's because, we have this superiority complex as a fan base where we think we should always have someone huge and a big name attached to the club, when realistically, that's just because the media blow smoke up our asses for something we did 24 years ago.
I don't necessarily think that's true, if I'm honest. I think it has been, to an extent, in recent years. But I think the overall principle being that if there's something on the pitch that we feel we can get behind, then I think the fans will get behind it. And that was exemplified at the game at Wrexham, right? We went a goal down, and the biggest roar came from our lot to cheer the players on. And I think the capability to recognise where progress is being made is there. And I think by saying that, and don't get me wrong, I've been at games where we've gone to go down, and I've heard the boos immediately ring out. So there is a lot of truth behind that, but I don't think that defines us as a fan base.
But if you think about that, I agree about the Wrexham game, but what happened in the next game?
Well, it does, but those next games were away, right? So we played at MK Dons, and we played at Sutton. MK Dons, and I went to both of those games, and I tweeted about it. I thought the Sutton game was a harder defeat to take than the MK Dons ones. We were just outplayed from the first minute. We just weren't at the races, outplayed by what looked to be a very good side on the night. Sutton, we lost that game as opposed to them winning it, I felt. But because of the kind of the quality of the performance, and I think that's reflected back in the in the fan base, and that's the point I was making earlier. If we feel there's something on the pitch we can get behind, I think it's there. The support is there. Under Hughes, as I said before, it was just dull to watch. And that's my take on it. If you disagree, fine.
I agree.
But I was bored. Yeah, I was just bored watching a lot of those games. How we actually managed to finish seventh is still miraculous, and I still can't believe we had a shot of finishing third and we blew it.
Because we played too safe, don't we? That's what we did. We played too safe. But just on what you said there, like I agree, it was boring to watch. It was. However, it's very, very rare that you find teams, especially at this level, that are going to provide that what you're looking for week in, week out. And there's going to be dips. There's going to be games where you have really bad. I mean, put it this way. So we went and lost 2-1 at Sutton. Notts County got smashed there on the opening game of the season, like played off the park by Sutton. No one at Notts County went, maybe this manager's not right for this level. But we do. When we go somewhere and after one game we have a bad performance, it turned. People wanted Kevin McDonald to get the job full time until full time at the end of the MK Dons game, and they were like, nope, he needs to go. We need to get someone proper in. That's how quickly it turned because we lost one game.
It did. I don't disagree with you. I think on the back of the MK Dons defeat as well, to put that into context, where we'd been thoroughly outplayed. So I think the 2-2 performances back to back, where we were poor, to be honest. But fundamentally, I think the support can be there. I don't think we're always toxic all of the time. I suppose perhaps being a bit defensive.
I think what, and I don't think I'm not saying that we're toxic all the time, but there's always that undercurrent, and it's always ready to boil over, and it can take the tiniest thing to flip it. That's the issue. We're always ready to turn. We never really kind of settle into it properly. We don't give a chance. If it was anyone other than Mark Hughes for this last 18 months, he wouldn't have got 18 months.
He wouldn't. I agree with that, but I don't necessarily think it's because of the name. I think it's because of the kind of limited success that he brought. The previous few seasons, we were 15th, 14th, and here all of a sudden, we had a bit of a chance of doing something this season. So I think that had brought him a little bit of extra time, and that's the point I suppose I'm trying to make, is that if there's something there that we can get behind. I mean, there was a season of optimism last season. Like I said, the previous few seasons had been quite dire. There'd been very little to kind of get behind at all. So, as I said, there was a limited success that was brought to the club based upon previous seasons. So, again, putting it into context, there was something that the fans could get behind. But anyway, I think we digress.
I still think this season is still ours to play for. I think we can still do something this season, regardless of what's going on behind the scenes, etc. Because that team, since Mark Hughes went, that team on the pitch are fighting to play. Apart from the MK Dons game, yeah, they just... I don't know what happened there. We just didn't play, did we? But the last 5 games, we've been all right. And we're fighting for the ball. They're playing with a bit of passion in them, to be fair. So I don't think, I'm going to be positive and say I don't think this season's over at all. I think we'll do well, regardless.
When we talked about the Wrexham game just then, the players, when they went down, did get the fans going again.
Yeah.
Because I think it was Ash Taylor or Sam Stubbs that got the crowd going again.
Yeah.
Can I just
and that's what they need. They need to do that. They need to come and whether it's if it's at home, come to towards the cop and give the fan, even if it's just one gesture at the fans, that works, doesn't it?
It did work. Yeah.
I think
I'm gonna say, guys, just gonna keep this until about 7 o'clock-ish. Daisy, I know you've put a request in, mate. Have you got anything you want to say, bud?
Yeah, there's lots of things that I've been listening to, and at the MK Dons game, Labib, we were stood together. I think for me, it was the nature in which we lost. We looked incompetent in every area of the pitch. And I think, we compare Notts County and Sutton, but that was at the beginning of the season. And lots of things have changed since then. And losing that game was, for me, very difficult. I don't want to point the finger at McDonald, because I think he's done a sterling job. He's been thrown in the deep end, and he's brilliant. He's done a lot of good things for us, and I'm thankful for that. But it's the manner, and the manner in which we lost both games for me. What I was going to say, I live down by Labib, actually, down in the Midlands, and there's a lot of Lincoln fans around here, season ticket holders, and they've been texting me tonight, taking the piss, saying Cowley's going back there. So I don't know whether it is a family issue or there's a last-minute kind of upheaval that he's had his head turned by Lincoln. I don't know if I've just come on, so apologies if I've missed that and it's been done. But I've had 3 messages from 3 different season ticket holders saying that deal's done.
Lincoln's a safe job for him.
He's been there before, and I don't think it ended that well, if I'm honest with you. So they've got mixed opinion on it, but the reality is that all this family stuff that he's not wanting to relocate and stuff. Lincoln to Bradford's 30 mile, so 40 mile, whatever it is. So I don't think there's any truth in that, if I'm honest.
So I know you just you've just joined, bud, but Chris Bell Media 25 minutes ago did say wouldn't surprise if Danny and Nicky are Lincoln bound. They still live in the city.
Yeah.
Don't think commuting to Bradford would be a problem for them. I think Lincoln job would be safer for them due to basically knowing the team and working with the chairman and bods. They know. Yeah,
okay, so it's been done. Yeah, I just thought I'd throw that one in there because I just heard it tonight. So there's obviously some fuel to the fire, isn't there? No smoke.
Who do you want, Dees?
Yep. I wanted Cowley, to be honest with you.
No, but now who do you want? Because unfortunately we can't get him. I've tried. We'll go get him and lock him in a boot and drag him back here if you like. But he might not do some good.
Do you know what? It's a really difficult one because I almost feel a little bit like the board. Not talking to us for 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it is now, is cringe, and the longer they leave it, the more difficult it becomes, and this sort of splitting of the fan base against the board. We all know where we are. We're up, and I won't go into that because I'm going off tangent. But I heard Neil when I seen you, Labib. I think they mentioned Neil Redfern, and I'm like, oh my God, please no. So I just don't. I'll have anybody at this. Bring Hughes back. No, I'm only joking. I don't know. I almost feel a little bit now that whoever we get, they're doomed if they do, and they're doomed if they don't. The board,
Well, what do we think about Truman? Why Truman want to? What did he do last time? He didn't. He did started well, didn't he, with Sellers? But then the kind of
But then if you remember, he took over when Derek Adams left, and he managed possibly the worst ever Bradford performance I've ever seen in my life, which was Oldham away.
Yeah, Truman knows the team. He knows the chairman. He knows the club, basically, doesn't he? Maybe it might not be a bad shout if he'd carried on.
Can you imagine the board's can you imagine the fans' reaction if they announce Mark Truman?
No, I don't.
But it's not up to maybe the fans need to get. This is what annoys me. You should get behind your club regardless of what's going on. Whoever, we can't say, well, we don't want him, we don't want her, or we don't want him. It's not up to us.
I did some facts and figures on Truman and Sellers. When they took over after McCall went, and if you remember, we were not far away from the relegation zone.
Well, 21st when McCall went, it was bad.
Yeah, so we were in danger of dropping out of the league. Now,
they saved us, didn't they?
In total, Truman and Sellers managed 30 games. All right. Now I'll split that down into the first batch of 15 games where we won 10. And I think we drew 5 and lost 1. So basically, we went from 21st up to the brink of the playoffs. And that culminated with that 1-1 draw versus Bolton. Do you remember that one? Danny Rowe hitting that last-minute belter volley into the top corner in front of an empty cop. So the first 15 games were just absolutely superb. We were going to the top of the table teams, turning them over, playing this 4-2-3-1. And people like Levi Sutton, who'd been put into his proper position, partnering with Elliot Watt. Andy Cook, we brought in. Truman Sellers brought him in. I think they brought in Charles Vernham, players of that ilk. I think they also brought in Danny Rowe, didn't they? So for that first 15 games, we were just superb, I thought. Absolutely brilliant. And then we played away at Newport and lost to a last-minute penalty. I think Newport were top of the table or something at that time. And then it just all went downhill.
Was that the one where we were winning until like the 88th minute or something?
Yeah, Andy Cook scored first.
He got the free kick, didn't they?
I think it was a penalty. I think Levi Sutton gave away a 90th minute penalty or something daft like that. And we lost 2-1. And then for the remaining 15 games, I think we won 2. So from the brink of the playoffs, we ended up 15th or whatever it was in that COVID season, behind closed doors. If we could bottle the first 15 games, Truman Sellers, I'd have that all day long.
Yeah, but that's not the reality, though, is it, baby?
I know.
I mean, is Richie Wellens? Is he still in the hunt, or has that died off now?
He's never been in the hunt. He's at Leyton Orient. I don't know where this came from. He's Leyton Orient's manager.
I know that. I'm aware. I'm profoundly aware of that. But I'd heard again. You don't know what's truth, what's fantasy, do you? Fact, fiction, whatever. I'd heard that and I was thinking, well, he's sort of mid-table in League One, doing a decent job getting them up. Why would he come to us other than we're a big club and sleeping giant and what other managers have fallen for? So if it was never a reality, forgive me, but he's a proven winner in League Two, isn't he? As was Steve Evans the same season when we got Hughes.
Yeah. So God! If Steve Evans comes in, there'll be a proper meltdown.
I didn't suggest that for a minute. I mean, he's a scrapper.
I'm just saying if he did it,
he's proven, isn't he? But yeah, he's a
manager.
There's a few other names that people would call him as well. Just on Wellens,
especially the women.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. just on Wellens, like I can obviously Labib, Johnny, you guys have been on the 606, so I can say like Leyton Orient's owners come on our show. There was never any conversations with Richie Wellens. And I don't know where it came from, because as soon as I heard it, I was like, I would take Richie Wellens in a breath.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
So Robert Cosbley, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, I'm sorry if I'm not. Controversial maybe, but it's Joey Barton for me. Talking about passion and fight. There's no one else except Flynn, but is he really going to leave Swindon?
Yes. I think Flynn will leave Swindon before the end of the season, but I don't agree on Joey Barton. I think absolutely no. Why would we want to invite that kind of attitude in? We're mourning about
what's he delivered as a manager. Is he not?
He got Bristol Rovers promoted, didn't he? I mean, to be fair, what he did was phenomenal. They were I think 18th in the league on the 1st of January, and he got them promoted on last game of season in automatics when they beat Scunthorpe 7-0. So he has got them up, but I won't want to join. Anybody go and watch any of his last 10 post-match interviews, or any interviews he's done when Bristol Rovers manager. He's just, if you thought Derek Adams moaned and made excuses up, go watch Joey Barton, because it's infuriating. It's never his fault. It's always, he throws players under the bus. He comes out in his interviews, and we all obviously were unhappy when Derek Adams did that about Ollie Crankshaw when he came out after the game and said about Crankshaw didn't think Crankshaw were good when he came off the bench. Joey Barton literally throws players under the bus week in, week out on the radio, in news interviews. I'm not a fan, but we'll see what happens. I just think it'd be really bad for us.
And just like this, Mr. Chu, Rob, what have you got to say on that?
My point to that, I don't know if you can hear me all right.
Yeah, can I hear you?
My point to that was we only ever really give managers a season at most. If we're going to get anything out of this season, we need to have fight and determination and passion, and that is everything that he is as a player and as a manager. I don't think it would ever be a long-term post for him, and I don't think I'd ever want it to be a long-term post. But for the rest of this season, Joey Barton, I think, keeps us in the league, no problem. Maybe pushes us up towards the playoffs at least.
There's no danger of us dropping out of the league.
Not the way the team are playing at the minute. They're playing as a team, I think.
It depends what happens next, doesn't it? We're talking about Mark Trueman again. For me, I posted the other day on Twitter, common denominator, because he's been a part of every coaching setup for the last 4 or 5 managers that have failed.
What can I ask? What about the managers that failed before that stint we had under Phil Parkinson? Because Mark Trueman this thing about giving managers less than a season and the fans turning on them, this has been going on my entire life, aside from a small window where we had Phil Parkinson and then that one season that McCall rode the success off the back of Phil Parkinson's time here. We have literally done this the entire time I've been a Bradford fan. So I don't think saying that Mark Trueman's the common denominator, yes, he is for the last few managers, but the common denominator for the whole time is the fans. We've been the ones that have pushed managers out. We've been the ones that have demanded change. And there's been a lot of times where it's been far too soon. Look, Joey Barton, if they go for him, they go for him. I cannot see. Can you imagine Joey Barton and Ryan Sparks sitting in a room and talking things through? Because I can't.
I can't imagine Ryan Sparks talking to anyone at the minute. I think he's just hiding away in a corner.
He's not. He's literally working 15 to 18 hour days.
I'm sure he really is, but it doesn't seem like that from the statement and everything else that goes out.
Sorry to interject there. I don't know that for fact for the 15 or 18 hour days, but you know, surely in terms of communication, does that justify working 15 or 18 hours a day, not communicating with the fans for 5 weeks? Are we saying that?
They've given a statement.
Yeah,
after 4 weeks.
After 2 days ago.
Yeah, but what? So, but again, all that statement did was prove the fact that they shouldn't have released a statement.
I'm not having a go at all, but I'm just saying, you know, don't mistake activity for achievement. In so much as that. 18-hour days and not communicating with a fan base such as ours, I wouldn't run my businesses like that, and I don't. You know, I'm not telling him how to run his businesses. That's up to him. But you know, it's opinion. But I don't think that that's acceptable.
So, Chu, when I listened to your podcast the other day, if my memory serves me correct, you was on about Tranmere, and where basically there's been no communication whatsoever from their board on / club.
Nothing.
Do you think that's the same at City? Do you think they're just trying to sort it out behind the scenes and just get things sorted?
No, they've appointed Nigel Adkins today on a permanent basis till the end of the season. Tranmere don't want to spend any money, according to their fans. Their fans kind of came on and spoke to us about it and said that it's just a shit show behind the scenes. And I'm not saying, we should consider ourselves lucky, because it's not about that. Every club's different. But look, the fact is, we're talking about Sparks, people saying, Sparks is not communicating this, that and the other. He can't win. When he communicates, he gets abused. So what is he supposed to do? Last year, when he communicated, in fact, he didn't even do anything wrong last year, and someone posted his personal mobile online, and he got phone calls abusing him. He's had to he's had to change his car. He can't park his car near the ground because of the abuse that he was getting, because people recognised his licence plate. Would you communicate with that? Because he used to be very open, and he used to give his mobile number out to fans, and he'd take a call from absolutely anyone, but you can only push someone so far until they go, I'm not doing it no more, I'm going to get on with the job. He doesn't have to communicate, as long as he's doing the job. And this is where people at the club who are close to him, they can see whether he's doing the job or not.
They know what's happening, and we'll find out when the manager comes in. If he put it this way, he nearly had Danny Cowley, but because of Lincoln, we've not got Danny Cowley. Like, that's a cracking appointment, and we should. It's not his fault that we didn't get Danny Cowley. Cowley's changed his mind. We've got to give some praise for that. Everybody had Danny Cowley top of their lists, and we had him agreed on a deal. Lincoln then came along, which is where his heart is, and he's going to go to Lincoln. Like, we've got to give some praise for that, but instead, they gave a statement because they expected that they were going to be announcing a manager in that coming days, which is quite clear because they've said now about Cowley turning it down. So they were expecting to announce. They gave an update, which everybody demanded, and then no one was happy with the update. But unfortunately, the update was exactly what they asked for. It was an update. It was telling you exactly what was happening, where we are in the search, and what's happening. He's not going to come out and go, "We had Danny Cowley, and then he's turned us down." Why would he do that?
I think I get your point with regards to the lose-lose, and I completely accept that. I think, if he's working 180 hours in total for 4 weeks, my personal expectation would be to have some sort of directive as to which way in which we go in. It felt like that, McDonald was on a bit of a wave, which is a natural wave that you get when any sort of new manager or somebody tips in, and that bubble burst for me at Milton Keynes quite drastically. We looked well off the pace, but let's put into consideration they'd not won in 9, so they weren't riding high either, and they thumped us, so it's difficult. We can all give our own opinion. My opinion would be, and I'd like to have seen a bit more communication from the club. As far as the minority that are chasing his car or damaging stuff, I mean, they're just mindless numpties, aren't they? Let's be absolutely honest. And every club's got a few, but and I feel sorry, nobody deserves that. But like I say,
they're probably the same people that outed Critchlaw, if you remember. It's the same kind of fan base, isn't it? Look how they turned on Critchlaw, and then he went out and scored, didn't he? The next
and they were all singing his name.
And then he went best thing since sliced bread again.
Have you got anything you want to say on it, Diane, love?
Yeah, well, I've just on my Twitter again, and somebody said they feel sorry for Sparks now, but because they have the number 1 target agreed for the new manager.
Yeah, which
because everybody will be having to go.
I agree. That's the point. People say he doesn't listen. People say he doesn't do what's right for the club, and he doesn't do what the fans want. But if he'd have got Danny Cowley, the last 3 appointments that he's brought in, everyone was happy with.
I think, sorry to interject, I think you're absolutely right. If you look at Hughes, right, when he got Hughes, I mean, we couldn't believe it. All right, how it ended was how it ended. But, a CEO's job isn't an easy job, because if it was, everybody would be doing it. So, and particularly with a club as big as ours, it's probably exacerbated by 10 in the difficulty that he's got. I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want the job, because he can't win at every turn point. So, but what gets me is that social media gives us the ability, doesn't it, to him be a hero in one breath and be a villain in the next. He's doing what he can.
Do you think if the club gave the fans more information about what's going on?
But you're going to speak properly.
I mean,
I think that we've shown time and time again as a fan base that no matter what they put out, people will clip it and take it out of context later down the line, and that's why.
So,
they
what
don't
do people
put
think
it out.
about Ryan Sparks?
What do you mean?
So say that again, Ollie.
What do people think about Ryan Sparks? Like, surely everyone wants him out by now.
Why?
Because
why
he's
do you want
made
him out, Ollie?
continually bad managerial appointments.
Right, go on. Explain what. So when Derek Adams came in, what was wrong with that appointment?
Everything.
But explain what that manager that had just got Morecambe with I think it was the 6th lowest budget in the league, had just got Morecambe to win the playoffs and get promoted. What was wrong with that?
Because he was known for being a toxic twat and being an argumentative bastard
at one club.
Yeah,
and with all due respect, you just come on here and started talking about how Sparks has bad decisions. You've called people toxic, and then you're saying that someone else is toxic. That's a bit hypocritical, really.
No, how am I toxic? I follow my team up and out country, and Ryan Sparks makes bad decisions about my team. Why is that toxic?
I'm talking about the way you've just come on and started talking. It's just quite hypocritical.
So
really. It's quite ironic.
Opinion, then I'm not.
It's not about having an opinion, is it? It's just about coming in and.
I think he's a fucking tool, to be honest with you. He's spouts full of shit and it's successful.
Definitely not toxic.
I think, guys. Just to interject. I think the CEO role in inside or outside of football, the tenure in that role is usually a sort of 2 to 4 years, because it's such a stressful job. It's a results-driven job, and it's not an easy job to do. So, you know, whether he's in or out, it's a results-driven business. I think his appointments have been, you know, we've got to take into consideration our budget, the balance sheet of the business, which is stable through a strong fan base and commercial endeavours. You know, so there's lots of things that are positive for him. But again, you know, I can see both sides of this argument in that it's a results-driven business as well, and he has to stand on what he has or hasn't delivered on the pitch. So I can see every angle, and I'm not trying to be grey politician. I'm just saying he's done a lot of things right, but there's certain things that he's done wrong, in my opinion, and it is a really tough job, and particularly at City, isn't it? Like, guys, let's be honest.
He's done everything the fans have asked.
Yeah, and they're still not happy.
Exactly.
Why didn't he walk then?
Why would he walk? He's doing everything that you guys have asked. You wanted a manager that has been successful at this level. He got a manager that's successful at this level. 6 months in, the fans wanted him out, so he got rid. He then went and got a manager because everyone was buzzing about him getting this huge name in Mark Hughes. Everybody was delighted. Everybody was wearing Brian Sparks as a hat when that announcement was done. Then, this season, fans have turned. They wanted him out, so he's got rid of him. Fans wanted Danny Cowley this time, and he had a deal agreed with Danny Cowley. Danny Cowley's pulled out because of family and personal reasons, because the Lincoln job's come up.
Which is bollocks.
No, it's not. It's not bollocks. How is that bollocks?
What, are you his fucking mate?
It's not. I'm speaking logically. How's that bollocks?
If we're talking about location stuff, he used to manage fucking Huddersfield. How much closer do you want to get?
We're not talking about that. He's talking about what's best for his family, and going back to a club where he's been universally loved and he's had success is the safer option for him. That's what it is about. He's got an option to go and finish a job that he started at Lincoln and it was cut off early. That's all it is.
So why would he agree a deal? I don't get it.
Because he hadn't agreed a job with Lincoln at that point. Lincoln sacked their manager after we did. He had all the interviews with Bradford early on. We were dealing with it, and then Lincoln came along. Bradford have obviously tried to get it over the line whilst he's had chats with Lincoln, and unfortunately, he's made his mind up.
So that shows that we're just not an attractive prospect,
compared to a League One club. No, why would we be?
So if you worked...
What,
so
10 seats Lincoln?
But what's that got to do with anything?
Because the shit.
But they're in League. They're in League One. They're better than us.
Right, and you were just bigging Sparks up who's a CEO of a League Two team, and it's all his fault.
Okay.
He gave McCall that fucking contract extension.
No, he didn't.
Who did that?
Julian Rhodes.
Who did
Julian
that?
Rhodes.
Fuck off, mate. Sparks and she got appointed, and then doing the
Julian
deal.
Rhodes did it. It was a parting thing from Julian Rhodes. He put the deal in place. You can laugh all you want. You can laugh all you want. All you need to do.
You must run the fucking club.
All you need to do is ask the question. Go to the club and ask the question, and you'll get the answer. But you won't. You'd rather sit and moan online about it, and then you'll moan about not hearing things. But it's very easy to ring the club and ask, and Ryan Sparks will speak to you.
So moving on from that. So what would people, if they had the opportunity, what would people like to change about the club? Started off with Diane and then we'll go down the list.
Changing the club, just let's get the manager in. Mark Truman has said that he's not going to be long, so he won't be in charge long, because again, I've looked on Twitter. So hopefully we'll get somebody in and get going again and getting the team ready.
What about you, Labib?
I've said it for a couple of years now, and people are probably bored of hearing me say it. But for me, I think we need a change of owner. And I've, just repeat the points that I've made before. Under Rupp's tenure, we've just gone backwards. My view, having worked in organisations and companies and industries, the vision, the drive, the ambition is all set by the person at the top. And I don't think Rupp does that. I don't think he's helped to build a kind of identity for the club. I think Sparks has tried. But as far as I'm concerned, all of that direction, drive, ambition, vision all comes from the owner. That sets the agenda for the club, and that culture pervades all the way down to everybody in that organisation. They should all be pulling together to achieve that one ambition, to achieve that one dream, and that is inspired by the owner, by the CEO. Until we have that, I can't see us doing anything, if I'm honest.
Shoot.
Liam? I think the finger pointing's got to stop. I think they're looking for scapegoats at the first sign of there being any sort of negative things happening. Like, we've got to kind of, if we're going to go up, if we're going to push forward, we've got to do it together. We can't be constantly looking for someone to blame for if it goes wrong. And that's, I think we've all got to kind of get on board with that. And whoever this manager is that comes in, we've said it's so important that this manager is the right manager for us. So whoever it is, we get behind them. That's all we can do, and give them time. They really need a good January ain't enough. If it don't work this season, they need the summer. They need January. They need the summer. Then they go on, and we see where we are in a year's time. That's my view on it, anyway.
Rob?
I agree with Labib. I think a new owner is required, but who's going to come in and pay the money that Rupp wants? Because no one would for a club that doesn't own the stadium or the training ground and is essentially just a badge. So it's a tough one. I don't think the fan base would be happy unless big Hollywood bankrollers come in and take over the club, or a certain portion of the fan base anyway. And also pool table. I think we all need a pool table.
Oh, we all need a pool table, don't we? Need them arcade machines in, get them in. Chris, what's your thoughts, bud?
All right, mate. I totally agree with whoever said about the finger pointing needs to stop. But I do think that half my finger is pointing at Ryan Sparks at the minute, mate.
What's it? Yeah, keep chatting, mate.
Over the years, mate, he's made some poor appointments, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's like looking at. I know we had a bit of a ranting session earlier, but looking at the managers, we've had, like what people have said, we've had a dinosaur in who couldn't do it. We've had a promotional guy try to do it. I would personally go for someone who's probably younger, like she was saying about that Nathan Rooney. He seems good. Looking on social media, the Carley brothers have now looks like pulled out completely, buggering off to Lincoln.
I think that shows that we're not an attractable club, to be honest.
Yep, true, right, mate. Sorry, Diane.
We used to be an attractable club for people to come to.
Come on, What would you know, Dan?
Pardon?
Nothing.
So you said something, Chris?
I just think that Ryan Sparks for me. That I don't have much else to say.
Chris, let me ask you about that, because you said poor managerial appointments. Were you unhappy when Derek Adams came in after just winning promotion?
Yeah, I don't think he was the right manager that we needed at the time, to be honest.
You don't think a manager that won promotion out of League Two was a manager we needed to get us out of League Two?
Nah, not really, no.
Who was then? Who would you have brought in instead of all these managers?
Richie Wellens.
Oh, okay.
What about you?
When would you have brought Richie Wellens in?
Then, when we brought in Adams.
Richie Wellens had a job then, didn't he?
Have you got any thoughts on it, Kel?
I'm just being Mrs. Positive, and I think as fans we should all get behind. We should get behind Truman as he is. He's doing the job right now. We should turn up in numbers, be the 12th man, get behind the team like we did at Wrexham. Because I think 100% that helps the team, and that helps them win games.
Just a point before I drop off, guys, because I'm going to have to leave. But for anyone who doesn't know who that Chris is, he's the bloke who tweeted out about Harry Lewis having a social life and about how it was poor on Harry Lewis and this, that, and the other after we lost the game, and started posting about it all over social media. So probably not the best to make calls and judgments, that guy.
Okay, and we're going to go to Benjamin. He's just... You okay, Benj? Can you hear me, Benji?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
So what's your thoughts?
It's all fucked, innit?
Yeah.
Do you know what they should have done? They should have took Cowley's wife to Harrogate. That's what they should have done.
But bottom line of it all is, we're going to end up with Truman until end of season. No one's going to come in until ownership changes.
And if you had the opportunity, Ben, who would you like to bring in if you had the opportunity?
Now?
Yeah,
no
right
one.
now.
Out of people that are available, no one.
So would you give it to Truman until the end of the season?
Well, it's looking that way, innit? I don't even know. But the list that's available at the minute, it's shite. It's poor. It's piss poor, in my opinion. It's not. None of them managers strike me as type who are going to get us out of League Two.
Fair point.
I'd be getting some money, and I'd be going to a club who's got a decent manager who's done it before, and I'd fucking pay him.
So would you go for like Peter Wilder at Barrow?
I'd take him, yeah, and I'd take Richie Wellens as well. I'd be knocking on his door. We should have got him instead of Hughes. I've said that since Hughes got the job.
And what do you think Hughes' downfall was?
Just being a fucking dinosaur, really. He doesn't have a clue. He might have been a good footballer, but he's just a shit manager. Every club he's been at has shown that. That's why
playing negative football, playing out.
That's why he went out of work so long before he came to us.
Does not being a dinosaur mean that they've got experience? They might be old, but surely they've got experience.
Yeah, they've got experience in playing football at a high level, but there's a difference between playing football and managing. I can play football, I'm good at football, but I'd be shite as a manager.
I just don't think the age thing comes into it. I think if they've got age and experience, that should be a positive.
Well, it clearly won't because he got sacked.
Well, it won't with Hughes, no, but I'm not. There's other managers that are old that might do a good job.
So looking at the next permanent City manager, I know there's absolutely loads of people here. I want to say thank you everybody for coming and listening, especially you, Transfer Jim, for doing basically an ad for me. So the next permanent Bradford City manager outright, Dean Holden 2-1, Graham Alexandra 8-1, Liam Richardson 8-1, Carl Robinson 25-1, Sam Allardyce 25-1, Andy Welsh 33-1.
Andy Welsh has just gone to Guiseley.
He just gone to Guiseley.
Dean Holden's already said no.
And then Barry Murphy.
Who's he?
No idea. Some Irish manager, apparently.
We don't need that.
He's 33-1. Right, Rob, have you got something you want to say, mate?
I was just going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if our next manager isn't even on that list. It's a complete, what's the word? Out of nowhere sort of appointment.
A surprise.
Do you know? Yeah. Do you know? I'm going to think. I'm going to put it out there. I think I know who the next manager might be.
Go on, give it to me.
I'm going to look. Robbie Fowler.
What?
Yeah, because he got sacked, didn't he, from the Saudi club?
He got sacked from the Saudi club. Apparently, I think he did well as well. I think he got the manager of the month and they sacked him.
Fucking hell, give him a job if he got manager of the month.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what? I can see all the cocaine things coming out now. If he gets some jobs, they're all... Can you just imagine? Jeez.
We're capital for it.
Linked to Liverpool, though, on a loans plus. Linked to Liverpool. Never know.
Definitely.
What do people think about Parky? Do you think Parky would be, what's the word, coaxed into coming back?
He's too well in Cali at Wrexham.
Is he? Do you not think he would?
He's in dreamland over there. He's getting money thrown at him for players.
So I've got a little. My boy was a mascot for the Wrexham game, and Parky was stood in the doorway near where I was by the side of the pitch. I just went and got a picture and just asked him. Just said, "When are you coming back?" Didn't really give a good response. He had a little chuckle and a bit of a wink, but I wouldn't put it. I wouldn't say he's going to come back. You got the money, all the money in the world at Wrexham. He's not getting sacked there anytime soon, is he?
Nope. Right. Any last words from anybody?
Can I just say something? Nobody's mentioned that we got through the second round of the FA Youth Cup last night. They beat Tranmere 2-0. Did the youth team?
You have to take roof off, though.
Kelly's just taking a roof off the car, I think.
I've got to get, sorry, proper woman thing. I've just had to buy a new ironing board and I can't fit it in my car. So I'm going to have to take my roof off. Sorry, just to go off.
Oh, Kelly, you do make me laugh.
God, that'd be something I'd do, but I don't drive.
So, right, who we got here? So, Pedro, we sound so desperate. I'll see Truman goes and prevails and maybe a better manager comes along. Any last words from Diane, Labib, Kelly or Rob?
Not really from me.
Johnny, are we doing one still tomorrow? Tomorrow at 7?
Yes, that's what I'm going to say. Yeah, also we're going to do one tomorrow. I know probably nobody will care. Because we've got Bradford Wycombe Wanderers in the FA Cup tomorrow. Space tomorrow if anyone wants to join. I'd just like to say, everybody, thank you very much for coming today. Also, if you like what you hear, we are on podcasts, podcast streaming services, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Bradford City Up the Chickens. We also have a Facebook page, Bradford City Up the Chickens. And last but not least, also, if you want to give me a follow on YouTube, it's the Brace Hodge 1. Wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Thank you very much.